Welcome to another episode of the Meant for Her Creating Wealth series. We have with us today some really special guests. If you recall from the last episode, we talked about managing personal finances efficiently. And today we're going to be building on that, and we're going to be talking about real estate investment as a means of creating wealth. Joining me today are two experts that will take us on a journey of how home ownership and real estate investment is a practical means of creating generational wealth. Help me welcome Susan Badai. Susan Badai. All right. So help me welcome Susan Badai. Susan Badai is a dedicated realtor who is known for her genuine love for people. Her passion for helping people and advocating for others is evident in her caring and warm approach. She listens attentively to her clients' wants and needs to achieve the best results, helping them realize their dreams of home ownership. Her Yes You Can is exhibited by educating individuals about home ownership and how they will have the knowledge and resources to own their own home. So help me welcome Susan Badai today. We also have joining us Darrell Hardy. Darrell is a local realtor in Connecticut, and Susan Badai also is in Connecticut. Darrell is a local realtor in Connecticut, a landlord, a mentor, and an investor that loves to share his knowledge and experience with those who are interested in real estate. Whether you are selling your home for the very first time, or you're an aspiring buyer, aspiring to purchase a home, a retiree looking to downsize, or an investor that's looking for an intelligent and insightful way to get into incredible multifamily rental and foreclosure market. He is your guide for that. So please help me welcome today Darrell Hardy and Suzette Badai. So let's jump right into the show for today. Today's topic is so dear to Men for Her. And you may be asking why. Our entire vision is to close the social economic gap that exists for women and girls. And we believe that through real estate, this is one of the means. So today we're going to be talking about how to go about this. So let's get right into it. Our first question is going to be for Susan Badai. What would you say to a single person who thinks home ownership is only for someone who's married or older?
Thank you so much, Vanessa, for having me. It's definitely a pleasure to be here and to share the information that I have with our listening audience. And one of the things that I want to do is to lay the foundation. And in even answering that question is just to remind us and to inform, some that when we talk about real estate or when we talk about even residential real estate, similar to or just like food and clothing, shelter is one of life's basic necessity. We all need somewhere to live. We need a roof over our head. So when we talk about real estate or we talk about, again, residential real estate, we're not telling people to get something they don't need. This is not a luxury. Even though, of course, many of us might have a luxurious home, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We worked very hard for that, and that's one way of rewarding ourselves. But again, having real estate, it does not necessarily, or having a shelter, it's not necessary. You're going to pay for your shelter one way or another. It costs to live somewhere. It costs to have a roof over your head. So whether you pay for rent or you're paying a mortgage, you're going to pay for that. So in answering the question, a single person might think that it might not be for them, or it might be for somebody married, or it might be for somebody that's older. Home ownership is for anyone who is willing, able, and ready to purchase. So again, it's for anyone who is ready, willing, and able, whether it's now or in the future. And when we talk about somebody being ready and willing, we're talking about a purchaser who is prepared to enter into a contract and based on the terms of that contract. And to be able, can they afford to own a home? Are they working? Do they have good credit? Do they have some skin in the game? Do you have some money? Because the lender is going to want to see some money as well. And talking about having good credit, if you notice, I did not say perfect credit. Some people desire to own a home and they're scared because they're thinking, I don't have perfect credit or I don't have a lot of money in the bank. You do not have to have perfect credit. You do need to have good credit. And each lender does have different criteria, speaking with lenders. And also, it doesn't necessarily mean you need to have 10-20% in the bank to be able to buy a house. That's the perfect world, or that's the ideal world. We would all like to have that much. Gone are the days when I can't buy a house unless I have 10% down or 20% down. Some programs allow you even 3% down. Many programs are out there, and that's where we come in. We educate you. The lenders educate you. Some lenders or their programs that offer first-time home buyer assistance with their down payment. You'll have down payment assistance. Some cities actually offer incentives. If you're living in the city, they allow you to get some type of incentive where you might not even have to pay that back. And some companies do that as well. They offer their employees, if you work and live in the same city, they do have programs. So again, anyone, again, I'm going to say it, who is ready, willing, and able. And if you don't know if you are afraid, one of the things that I continue to say to everybody, yes, you can. We will show you how to help you to become a homeowner.
Wow. Okay. So you've set the foundation for our listeners who are out there perhaps thinking, I'm not ready, right? You've set that foundation to kind of help us understand how to know if you're ready. So that was great. Now, this question is going to be for Darrell. In line with this previous question, when would you say is a right time a person should start investing in real estate?
Um, I would say the best time to start investing in real estate is as soon as possible. Um, a lot of times, as a community, our people are looking for perfection and not progress. And if you continually wait for the perfect opportunity, you will miss all the great opportunities that were there beforehand. So I started investing in real estate at 23, and I will tell you, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't understand that some people just don't believe in paying rent, and I didn't understand why say a and I'm going to give you some interesting stories, by the way. I actually bought a house that had a prostitution problem. That was quite the ordeal. But what it did teach me is that I can get over this. I can take a piece of property and I can clean it up and I can make the entire neighborhood better. And through that experience, I was able to pass on that knowledge, those hardships, those experiences to hundreds of other buyers for them to become wealth beacons and seeds in their community to take a distressed property or a property where only, say, a large property management company would come in and reap the fruits of their labor. And I was turning my peers, my classmates, my aunts, uncles, and their parents and my friends into homeowners. And I believe in a monopoly principle. You know, the game of Monopoly that has fundamental wealth building strategies built inherently into that game. We as a community that have been systematically oppressed and disenfranchised, if we as a people, each household can control three pieces of property, you can change the wealth trajectory of your family for generations to come. And when you're trying to change a wealth trajectory, or you're trying to break generational curses, you can't afford to wait for perfection. You have to start where you are with what you have, as the great Arthur Ashe said.
So excellent intro to this topic. Honestly, Suzette laid the foundation in terms of you. It's about being ready. It's not about an age. It's not about your marital status. It's about being ready. And I like how you took that further, and you're informing our guests and our listeners, including myself, that once you know you're ready, right? Then there's that choice of, am I buying, home ownership for my personal living, right? And as Suzette said, living is a necessity. It's just like you buying groceries. Now it's how you choose to make that living. Is it you're going to be a tenant, or own for yourself? So I really do like how you guys have prefaced this, and you're leading us down this path where we can then make that decision of, hey, it's never too late and it's never too early, as long as you are ready to take that journey. And even if you encounter, as Darrell said, some challenges with your property investment, there's still a learning aspect to help you build upon later on. So I love that. The next question for both of you, and we'll start with Darrell. Explain how home ownership is a credible way to pass down wealth to future generations.
All right. So I'm going to talk about it, and I'll stick to one phase of it. I'll stick to the phase of my monopoly strategy. So today you can go out there and purchase, say, a $200,000 property. You can choose a single family condo, you can choose a multifamily. I prefer, because I would like our people in our community to own multiple pieces of property, because those are multiple streams of income and multiple assets to pass down to their families and other future generations to build the financial foundation. So if there is a $200,000 property, it could be, let's say your first property would be a two-family property. This property at $200,000 with a FHA down payment is a $7,000 down payment. That for most people is less than 1 year of rent. Um, if you purchase that property for 3.5%, you're probably in the Northeast where we have higher taxes. You're probably going to have a mortgage with these current interest rates somewhere between, I'd say, $1,200 to $1,500. If you know anything about how our rents are structured, that property will probably command, for the unit you're not living in, about, let's say, $1,000 in rent. So here you are currently paying a landlord roughly about $1,200 out of pocket every month. So you're giving them about $14,000 of your hard-earned income. You purchase one property for $7,000 down, and now you have cut your housing expense by a few $100s per month. That savings multiplies upon itself. So now that you're living for free, or you're living at a discount, you're able to provide for your family in the current situation, and in a way that you were not when you were taxed out at the higher rent amounts. You get there, you learn the business, you learn to take care of a property, you learn how to actually own and maintain the entire property that you own. Now you're ready to move off to your single family, but you keep maintaining that property. You rent out the unit that you were living in at a severe discount, or maybe even for free, and now that becomes a profit ratio, which helps fund your new single family purchase. You own those for 30 years. Unlike most Americans, we get a lot of in our community are getting to retirement age, and all they have to look forward to is relatively small 401ks, if they exist at all, and or Social Security. Now, if your property hasn't gone up at all in value in those 30 years, you now have controlled two $400,000 properties, so $200,000 per piece. If you leave that legacy of a $400,000 head start to your children, you are doing more than almost any other asset class can offer your family, and you purchased it at very low down payments. So that's how you can help build the foundation, the financial foundation for leaving a legacy for your family with just using these low first time home buyer programs. Vanessa, I think you're on mute still.
Yes.
Okay, can you hear me now?
There I go.
Okay. So explain, same question for you, Suzette. How is home ownership a credible way of passing down wealth to the future generation? And I want you to come from the aspect of owning your own home.
Okay. And thank you again for that question. And thank you for sharing that, Darrell, in terms of course, owning multiple properties and then being able to build that wealth to pass on to future generation. In the case of, owning your own home and, from a residential perspective, someone might just say, okay, I'm not going to do the landlord thing because it might not be for everyone. And I just want to focus on having a single family home, and I want to pass this on to my next generation. And for us, of course, culturally, traditionally, it's one of the things that we've always liked to do. When we purchase a property, we purchase it in mind to pass it down to our children. We do not want to, we often say we don't want to die and leave them with any debt. Any debt, I'm sorry. We don't want them to have to worry about even burying us. We want to make sure that everything is taken care of. And one of the things that we can do with, of course, our single family home, a residential property, sometimes people believe that when they purchase a home, I have to purchase it and maintain it or purchase the term for 30 years. That's not necessarily the case. Again, traditionally, that's what we were always taught, that when you have a mortgage, it is 30-year. To help, of course, alleviate the debt that will be passed on to your children or whoever the beneficiary is, you can have a 15-year mortgage, or you could have a 2025, or even if you choose to do a 30-year, one, to cut back on the cost. That was, the main reason we do that, to cut back on the monthly cost. Sometimes people don't realize that when they actually pay more into their mortgage each month. So each month you're adding to the principal, cutting down on the amount of interest that you're paying, where you're able to pay that mortgage off in, say, less than half of the term that you have. Eventually, when you're ready to pass this down to the next generation, which would be much simpler if rather than if you had a mortgage on the property, and of course attorney and all of those would have to get involved to make sure it's not going through probate and all the good stuff that follows. This house is now free and clear of mortgage, can be transferred, of course, to your net for the future generation, your children, your beneficiary. They do not have to worry about paying that mortgage on the home. Uncle Sam always going to want their money, correct? So all they need to worry about is, of course, paying taxes on the property. You want to make sure that you're paying the insurance in the property and maintain it. Well, now this is theirs. What they do with it is their choice. They could live in it. And even as Daryl talk about now, they're living it. They're actually now not paying a mortgage because the mortgage is paid off. There are many options that they could actually do with this property. They could sell it if they choose to and invest the money elsewhere, or they could rent it out. There are many options now that they have where they're not actually paying a mortgage on this property because somebody else did that for them.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful intros that you guys are giving us. You guys are giving us so much to really take home and reassess perhaps some of our previous beliefs about, real estate investment and owning your own home and how that creates generational wealth. Now, how about someone who isn't really of the belief that, owning a home, whether it's personally or as an investment, owning multiple properties, as Darrell has laid out here for us, what would you say to someone who has that belief system that says, I don't really believe that owning a home per se or investing in real estate is the right way to go because this ties down my finances, and with owning a home or owning properties, it's not just it's not cookie cutter, right? It's not so simple as you guys are putting it. You have to maintain the home, there's costs associated, there's taxes, and there's all these other headaches that a lot of people are just like, you know what, I just want to rent. And if I rent, all I'm paying is my rent at the end of the month, right? Once a month. I don't have all these other expenses, and then I could, use my other money to do other investments. I can travel, I can go on vacations, I can put more money into my 401k. What would you say to someone of that belief? And let's start with Darrell.
Belief that there is only but so much finite money in the average person's household or discretionary budget. Real estate, especially in the manner of which I presented it, so one trying to start with multifamily real estate, that typically tends to you eliminating your greatest household or your greatest cost or monthly cost as a person, which is your housing expense. So if you can reduce or eliminate that cost, you're already ahead of the vast majority of the country. If we look back, we don't even have to look back 10 years to the beginning of the recession. We can look back 3 years. Now, 3 years later, from 2017 to 2020, the prices of real estate in our state are up almost 15%. In certain purchases. If you were paying an average of $1,200 of rent, and you're paying your rent, and you're saying, I'll take the excess and I'll put it into a CD, which is gaining you almost 1%, sometimes if you're lucky, two, but you're really not making that much money. The market has appreciated to the point where the 2017 $200,000 house 3 years later is the 2020 $240,000 house. That's a hard return on investment to try to gain in the market at the same rate. And without really doing anything. All you did was purchase a property. You've gotten the market appreciation, and if you started in the manner which I told you with the multifamily real estate, you've also been living for free or at a severe discount. So you're netting, your monthly netting your returns. So a five, six, $1,000, $1,200 savings per month. That's that is that has become an automated lifestyle into the real estate wealth building foundation. Whereas if you say, you know what, I'll just rent here and I'll invest my money elsewhere, you have to do that at such a perfect level that the most Americans don't have the financial wherewithal and the financial ability to actually consistently put that much into savings, because you're trying to figure out, for most Americans, how do I survive? When you start advancing in real estate, and it normally takes that first purchase, you start going into, how do I live? How do I want to shape my life? Because you have controlled one of the most burdensome parts of your life, which is the cost to live. And that's just from the multifamily perspective. There's also that same appreciation that's happening in the market in the single family manner. So the people that were buying single families, they've locked in a price point. And now, 3 years later, their mortgage, whether it was $1,500 in 2017 at 4.5 or 5%, they're now in a new market where their houses are worth more and interest rates are almost in half. So they're down somewhere between 2.75 and three, maybe three and a quarter. Those people are doing refis at such a rate that they are now dropping their mortgage insurance, they're dropping their interest rate. So their $1,500 payment is now going to $1,100 and $1,200. In Connecticut, I challenge you to find a $1,100 single family rental.
Wow. I mean, that. And that's that mentality of thinking you got to think of the total cost of acquisition. It's something that I do in my space, not really in real estate, but we tell buyers, owners of companies that you have to think about the total cost of acquisition. So over the years, what Darrell just gave us is that you are actually probably at more of a loss and paying more through renting, right? And you don't have as much return on investment without the real estate piece of things. So thank you for that. And Suzette, what would you say to that? To someone who has that mindset that no, I don't buy it. Real estate ties me down, ties my finances down. I just don't buy it. It's not, there's no wealth creation in this.
One of the things that I'm happy that you pointed out is that it's a mindset. It's getting people, and I would love to say getting our people to change their mindset, because there's so much misconception when you don't know better. Going to somebody who will say, well, it's better for me to pay rent. I don't have to worry about the taxes. I don't have to worry about, well, some of them has renters insurance, but I don't have to worry about all that homeowners insurance. I don't have to worry about all the expense that comes with a mortgage. Now I have to maintain the property. One of the biggest misconception that we do have, and especially those who are renting, at the end of the day, you're still paying a mortgage, somebody else's mortgage. And the landlord, some of them do have, again, a mortgage on the house. So with having a mortgage on the house, they still have to pay taxes. So you're paying somebody else's taxes. They still have to
Wow.
pay interest. You're paying somebody else's interest. They have to pay insurance. You're paying somebody else's insurance. And who will be benefiting? The landlord will be benefiting, not you, because come tax time, the landlord now able to actually take a deduction. They're paying interest, they're able to deduct that. They're paying taxes, they're able to deduct that. And what do you get at the end? Sometimes, if much, maybe a penny. They consider that the interest that you earn on the security deposit. By law, they have to send that to you. So they'll send you a check maybe for a penny. They do. And sometimes they hound you to cash it, right? I worked in the bank, so I know
Wow.
they hound at you and you need to cash it because we need to clear our books. And, you might get a check for 5 cents when the landlord is benefiting from you. When we talk about building or creating wealth, it takes time. It does take time. It
Mm.
does not happen overnight. So whether you're doing it with real estate, you're investing in stocks, unless you just so happen to be lucky and buy a lottery ticket, very slim, right? But it's gonna take time. So if you are now deciding, say I have 50,000 and I'm gonna invest this 50,000, but I'm still gonna pay rent, you're still throwing away a portion of your money. Again, we have already established what your rent is going towards. And you decided, okay, I'm going to pay rent. I still don't want to be bothered because I'm going to have to maintain the house. And it's going to cost me more money now to maintain the property. And it does, because you want to keep the neighborhood good. You want to make sure your house is in proper condition when you're ready to sell it. So it is going to cost you to maintain it. But again, another misconception is, and we're under the notion is that when I'm investing in stocks or I'm investing in something else, I am not maintaining. Yes, you are. You're paying somebody to manage that fund. So there's still expenses. And so regardless of, again, nothing we do is for free. We've already established that. So whether you're paying to maintain your property, and at the end of the day, the reality is that I'm just going to be real. At the end of the day, owning a home is not for everybody. It's reality. Some people will say, well, I don't want to have to worry about doing it myself. So it might not be for that person, but for the norm, real estate will, far outweigh give you more for your money than you will be able to get when you rent. They're already established how much money you're throwing away by paying rent each month. Again, now you utilize the cash that you have, and I decided, okay, I'm going to buy a property. Because again, remember, we
Mm.
talked about it takes time. So over time, you're able to use, hopefully now you've built some equity in the property. So you still have some cash left over. You could continue to build wealth on that. And you have the property where you're able to get the equity out of the property. You're able to now to even use that to buy more real estate property, or invest in other funds or whatever you need to do. And not to mention the peace of mind. One of the things I've heard a lot of tenants say to me, and I was a tenant too, and I was a tenant with a young child, is I'm tired of my landlord telling me my child is making too much noise. Wouldn't you want to have your own space? Your children will have their freedom. Wouldn't you want to have your own backyard? Wouldn't you want to have that sense of pride? So, again, what you will get out of real estate, and I am going to continue to say it, it's not a luxury. We need a roof over our head. We just need to think smart, plan smart, and invest smart. Real estate is far, better way to go than actually renting.
Wow. 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 So much. I mean, I'm just, as a homeowner myself, I can't agree more. I think I said this to you behind the scenes, how even in college, I didn't want to share space and I wanted my privacy. So, I mean, if you're that type of person who wants your privacy and you want your children or your family to have that, definitely this session is for you. And I believe that our guests today are breaking some of those myths that we all have, where we're saying, perhaps I don't want to be tied down with a mortgage. I don't want to be tied down with having to take care of the home. You guys have given us, really said to us, this is practical. It can be done, right? And not only that, you're already doing it. You're either going to do it as a tenant or you're going to do it as a landlord. And in your previous investments you're going to make, you're paying something for that. So that was a really good point. That had my jaws dropping, like, we don't think about that. And it's good that we're saying these things out loud so people can hear it and they can say, whoa, at the end of the month, I'm paying someone else anyway to, take care of my investments that I have if I don't have a home. So what's the difference with, owning a home? So, having that diversity in your portfolio of financial equity. You can have a home. You should invest into stocks and 401k and all of that. But there has to be diversification. And I love that you guys brought that up. All right. So, next question. And this one is going to be for Suzette, because we want to really just really high level. And we'll talk to our audience later on about a program you're going to be doing, that they can dig more into this later. But what are some of the steps people should take to buy a home and to become an official homeowner?
Some of the steps that they actually can take. I am big on education. Knowledge is power. Well, if you utilize the power that you got, right? So again, one of my thing I always encourage people, do the home buyer education. A lot of the banks, if you do FHA, they're going to require you to do it anyways. I always encourage people, start with home buyers education. There are many that you can find online. You could tap into myself. You could tap into Daryl. We will, connect you to home buyers education, and it's just going to walk you through buying a home. And some of those programs do have financial counselors. Some of them do have credit counselors. Then if your credit is not where it needs to be, they will sit with you one-on-one. I know I work closely with Mutual Housing of Greater Hartford, and they sit with you one-on-one and help you to work out your credit and get you credit ready to be able to purchase your home. You're going to need credit. Credit matters. And then after that, of course, you definitely need to be pre-approved. Once you're credit ready, you have that job, and of course you have some skin in the game, you do need to be pre-approved. One of the things I tell people all the time, I do not take anyone out to look at property until you show me the money, because we look at a property and then you can't afford it or you don't have the money. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of my time. So you be pre-approved and you know exactly what you can afford. And then obviously that's when you sit with us. You sit with us, the realtor. We go over everything with you. We go out, we look at the properties. You find the properties that you want. Once you find that property, now we're able, of course, to put an offer. The plan is obviously to make your offer strong. Now the seller accepts your offer. Your loan actually now goes to the lender. They do the loan application. We have inspection done while they're doing the loan application. Lenders will also request for appraisal on the property. And then, of course, we're pretty much waiting for the lenders to do
Hmm.
their things. Obviously, the real estate is always behind the scenes, still working with everybody to make sure it's done in appropriate manner. Attorney comes in, we get your loan closed, and I will say, congratulations, you're now a homeowner. And again, I'll tell you, you can do it.
Wow. So thank you so much. That was a very, I found it to be insightful and a clear process. I know when I started off and brand new trying to buy a home, I wish I had the type of resources that both you guys offer. I always say not all realtors are cut with the same cloth. So you guys really do care about clients and you share, your knowledge and you're able to walk them through the process without the person feeling, afraid or unsure. So Darrell, for you, what would you say for your segment? What would you say are the steps for becoming an investor? So beyond just living, acquiring to live, but to invest and have multiple properties.
So I will piggyback off of Suzette's. Um, the what I like about real estate as an asset class is that there are multiple ways to get into it, and there's multiple ways to attain it. The trick is that, especially in our community, the information out there is a lot of third party hearsay or old information. There are so many ways to buy houses. There are programs that help you buy it with basically no money down and still have fantastic 30-year fixed mortgages. There are ways that you can buy putting 3%, 5, 3.5, 10% interest only, arms, all this other thing. What we have to understand is we have to start pursuing knowledge in a different manner. So, real estate is one of those asset classes that has clear set rules on how to attain it. And the place you get these rules are from different lenders. They will set their lending guidelines, and it then becomes up to you to reverse engineer the process. So, if you want to start it out from the first time home buyer position to buy your first multifamily property, you know you're not ready. You're like, I'm gonna make this my 2021 goal, summer 2021 goal. I would say go to your lenders and then ask around of different agents and different people who have purchased in the last, I'd say, 24 to 36 months. Who did you use to buy this piece of real estate? And you can ask those people what lenders work on this type of class of real estate that I'm looking to buy. I want to buy, and I want to buy a multifamily as my first home, 2 to 4 units. Who did you use? You can go talk to those lenders, and you can do basically what I call a dry run. Have them tell you where you stand in the bank's eyes to get their money. And so you may find out that your Credit Karma says you have a 685 FICO, and when you go into the bank and they pull your credit, they're pulling up at a 610. And there's a collection account that you had from 2000 on there, or there's or some false information up there. You now know that you have time to correct all these things. So the next time it goes around, they told you, we want you to have XYZ amount of savings. We want you to have about this credit score. We're willing to offer you this type of financing. The house has to be in perfect shape. You're like, well, I want a cheaper, not even cheaper. I want a value add property. So I want a property that has a messed up kitchen, maybe missing the pipes or a broken boiler because I'm getting a better deal on it. So I want renovation financing. Now you have plenty of time to go seek out those lenders that offer renovation financing. There are some lenders that only work in the single family space, or there are some lenders that don't offer any type of renovation financing, and you want a single family that has incredible equity and you want to figure out how to buy that as a first time owner or first time buyer or as a seasoned real estate investor. Do I need to go get a commercial loan? Do I need to get a commercial HELOC? Do I need to get a Fannie Mae home style or home path renovation financing? How do I consolidate the tools that I need to get what I want? And that step starts with educating yourself on banking guidelines and seeking out the knowledge the lenders that offer what you want.
So everything you just said just puts me at ease for if I decide to go that next step beyond owning my own home, really taking on more assets in that sense. One of the things I keep hearing in both of your rebuttal or your responses is being prepared and preparation through training. So even if you're not in that class yet of home ownership and you haven't owned a home, or maybe you're first generation, or you want to invest, you've never done it before, there are resources, there are tools out there that can help you with that. Starting with your realtor, talking to others, but be prepared. Don't go into anything without first finding out, okay, what does it take to achieve this goal of mine? How can I become a homeowner? How can I become an investor? And working with the subject matter experts takes away the edge, right? Don't go it alone. Work with someone who's been down that road. Work with realtors. Ask questions. There's no shame in that. Ask questions. So I love that you guys place that. And now this next question really ties into what Darrell you were speaking to. There are people who say, I don't have 6, 7 figures to start investing into real estate investments. What would you say to someone like that, Darrell?
So it depends. Start where you are. The greatest thing that you can do to get into any type of investment is to acquire knowledge and to put yourself in a place of value to people who have that knowledge. So sometimes that may be joining investment clubs, that may be joining real estate chats, that may be doing meetups, that may be simply analyzing, like looking at the types of properties that you want to buy. But you don't need for your agent to define your investment strategy. You need to start to have an idea of where you want to go. What I tell for my seasoned investors, like they're like, I want to buy that house. And I look at it and I say, why? And they're like, oh, because it's cheap. And I'm like, is it really? Does it fit your investing strategy? And they're like, what do you mean by that? And I'm like, what's the cash flow per month after you finish it? Will it have any equity? Do you want to hang on to this, or do you want it to be a long term rental? And what I say, again, in terms of the reverse engineering, understand why you're doing this, what you're trying to seek out of it. Some people like, I want to flip houses. And I'm like, well, have you really researched flipping? Because it could be relatively expensive. Everybody, and when you flip houses, everyone gets paid before you do. You're paying the bank to buy the property, or the seller to purchase the property from them. You're paying for permits, you're paying for contractors, you're paying for materials, and it can become painful if you're not prepared for what that's going to look like. You may have all the money in the world, or so you thought, and you found a property that has an underground oil tank that's leaking, and now you have to remediate that, and you didn't budget for that, or you don't have a general knowledge of construction, and the contractor you hired was the cheapest one on the books, and so you guys kind of just go guess it out together. There's a cost to that. I'm not saying that you can't get a good cheap contractor, but you you benefit by experience. And if you do not have the experience, be willing to pay and surround yourself with those who have it. And in the situations where you don't have a lot of money, you know, try to become a value to the people that you want, that you're requesting all this time and free information, because I give very freely of myself. But there are some times when these become very one-sided relationships, where someone's like, I'm just going to go to him, ask him all the questions in the world, and then I'll go somewhere else. And that becomes, why should I help you? I am very pro community building. I am for pro giving back to my my people to help them get on, but do not become a taker. The goal is the community to be better and to build, and that means every person in that circle must gain from it, not just solely you.
Wow, you gave us, a loaded answer there. But one thing I really want to, as I'm listening, as someone who has interest in real estate investment, as I'm listening, I'm hearing that it's not that you need the 6 to 7 figures. It's knowing what you want, knowing what your parameters are, and then also seeking out information, free information as needed, so that you're not utilizing all of your finances to make this dream come true. But you touched on something so valuable that it would, it would be remiss of me not to touch on it and really hone into it, because a lot of times people think I have to go it alone. No, you don't have to go it alone, but you can't be a lone ranger as you go it and asking people for help. So, if Darrell's extending or Suzette is extending their time and they're showing you the ropes and telling you, okay, you need to do this and that, there's also that give back, right? There's that give back of referrals. There's that give back of, hey, I know someone who's who's a realtor. I know, and then when you're ready to buy, utilizing their services. So you may not necessarily have to pay a lot up front to utilize their resources and their knowledge, because what they're doing is knowledge transfer. But we have to be careful not to burn those bridges as we build our wealth. We have to make sure we're thinking community, we're thinking give back in both sides. So I love that. Thank you so much for that. I mean, this has been such a good episode, honestly, because this is one of the areas I believe in. Darrell, you and I talked about it. This is an area I think a lot of people are just stuck and don't really see themselves being homeowners, don't see themselves being able to be a real estate investor, because we sometimes have this mindset that this is only for the rich people, right? But you guys have broken it down so simple today, and thank you so much for that. Showing that, at different levels, and your readiness depends on what it is you're going after. You may not go after a large lot size property to begin with, and you just start small, but it is achievable. And I love the way you guys broke that down in terms of home ownership and in terms of investing in multiple properties or starting out in real estate investment. Thank you so much for that. Suzette, you have an upcoming home ownership seminar. Can you tell us a little bit about that for our listeners today?
Absolutely. So this, of course, will be our semi-annual Own Your Own free first-time home buyer seminar. The seminar will be online. Of course, thanks to COVID, we'll be hosting online via WebEx. For those who've already registered, they will be receiving the link shortly. We ask people to register. They could call me, text me, email me if they want to be a part of this seminar. Again, it is free. Daryl and I basically talk about giving back and, wanted to help people. And this is one of the ways in which I am giving back. This is one of the ways where I want to educate our people in realizing that they can own a home. They can actually start with real estate, and they might realize that, okay, wait, I want to move away from even just the residential. There's so much, they can do. So on this day, again, it's our semi-annual. We do it normally in October and February. So this one, of course, again, online. We will have professionals such as realtors. We'll have inspectors, attorneys, credit counselor. We'll even have someone from the city of Hartford that will come out and talk about the House Hartford program. A lot of people are not aware of it, or there's still a lot of misconception. They don't understand how the program works. She will be coming out to talking to them about the House Hartford program. It will be on Saturday, October the 17th. That's next week, Saturday, from 10 a.m. until 12. Again, we welcome everybody. Come on if you own your own home. home, tell a friend, invite a family member. And, this is for you. We're giving this to you so you are informed, and then you can actually make wise decision. Again, come out, take advantage of this great event, and feel free, ask any questions that you definitely will have. Again, it will be on October the 17th from 10 a.m. until 12. We ask that you RSVP, and then you will have the link once you do.
We have right at the bottom of the screen how you can reach Suzette. Her phone number is there and her email is there. So I believe the registrations, you can reach out to her via email at Suzette, BADHAI at KW.com. You reach out and just, let them know you heard about the seminar coming up. I'm Meant for Hers Creating Wealth series, and she will hook you up. I've been to one of the seminars, even though I'm no longer a first home buyer. But I'll tell you one thing: when I attended that seminar, my husband and I have owned our own home now for almost 10 years. But I sat in the seminar. I came to support Suzette. However, I learned some things that I was like, wow, I wish when I was buying, I knew. So there's so much information to be given. Do not miss that seminar. Plug into it. There are things now that even as I want to delve into investment. There are things that Suzette talked about that I can still do through that program. So it's not just, your traditional first home buyer only. Even if you own a property, I would say sit in and listen. Wealth, knowledge is wealth. I always tell people knowledge is wealth. So take advantage of that. Connect with Suzette, and you won't regret that. And with that, we have one more question, and it's more of an encouragement. We're asking that Darrell encourages, our listeners out there who have already gone on this journey. We've bought properties like myself. We bought properties, but we want to, either expand or we want to invest, or perhaps the person has already bought some investment properties, but sometimes, this journey kind of gets a little hiccupy, right? What would you say to that person that's listening?
So, as a community, we have to understand that there is wealth in our community. There is wealth in our property. There is wealth in real estate, and especially if you bought in the last 10 years, you have equity. And in this market, you have tappable equity. The recession of old taught us that never tap a asset to buy liabilities like depreciated assets like cars or such. But here, you could, if you and your friend circle or family circle have taken the journey, taken the time to go down the path of ownership, you now can take it to the next level. Um, you can go out right now in almost any of our cities and find a good multifamily property. Each person can bring 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, $100,000 because our homes have value. So if you borrowed out, say, 30 or $40,000 from your single family home, right, on an interest only line of credit that doesn't, it charges interest for the first 10 years at say 4 or 5%, and then it amortizes years 10 through 20. And you did that with one or two other people. You now, if say there was a group of three of you and you each put in $40,000 of equity, that equity is very cheap money. You now have $820,000. You can go into Hartford, Waterbury, New Haven, Bristol, almost any city in this state, and group buy, practice group economics, and buy a property. Some of us as homeowners who have bought over the last 10 years have a lot more equity. We can borrow that equity in some instances and buy out an entire property, whether that's just a entire fix and flip single family or an entire buy and hold condo, or we are buying out entire multifamily properties. Those properties tend to have a better return, a greater rate of return on investment than what the money is costing you. So there are tons of ways to get into real estate and to build a foundation, because that first property is without a doubt your initial brick in your foundation. What you do therefore afterwards will help solidify that foundation. Real estate, as Suzette said, it's not wealth, it's not fast money, it's not quick wealth. It is wealth over time. It is wealth built with purpose. And sometimes the property gives you the purpose, because you bought that house just thinking I needed a place to stay, I needed a place to live. And then over time it grew into, this is the most valuable thing I have. It's more valuable than my 401k. It might be technically more valuable than your job, but how you approach growing it, you must protect your real estate. And if you protect it, it will help build your legacy.
Wow. 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 So much information has been shared. Thank you both so much for coming out today. Thank you, Suzette. Thank you, Darrell, for joining us today on another episode of Creating Wealth Series at Meant for Her. Well, listeners, our hope is that you have been inspired, have been equipped, you've been empowered, and you've been connected. Also, please don't forget to download the latest Meant for Her magazine issue that's out now. Visit www.mentforher, MENT, the number four, HER.org, and click under resources, and the magazine is free to download. Thank you once again, Darrell and Suzette. I believe that, we have now challenged ourselves to start thinking different about wealth creation. We started the episodes with the series with um, a healthy lifestyle, having a healthy lifestyle and how health is wealth. And then we proceeded into discussing personal finances and making sure we really were prepared for this session, which is being ready for home ownership. We talked about credit, we talked about budgeting and all of that. And today, you guys gave us really a high level blueprint of how to go about becoming a homeowner and a real estate investor. We can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. Listeners, you heard it for yourselves. Now go and take some action. Have a wonderful day. Take care.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Have a great day.
Thank you.